Alright, hello everyone, and today I'm going to show you how to dual boot Windows XP and Windows 8 with Windows 8 installed first. This is a request from Cute Cat that she told me to do, and it was actually quite a while ago, but I feel like I didn't want to be a jerk, so I decided I'm going to make it. So, alright, so what you're going to need first is, like I covered in the last video, you're going to need a Windows Vista 7 or 8 install disk, 64-bit, they can be 32 or 64-bit, you need a 32-bit or 64-bit Windows XP disk, and I'll show you which one to get. Then you're going to need your basic drivers, and I'll show you which ones to get too. Alright, now first thing I'm going to cover is drivers. Alright, so what you're going to do first is you're going to go to the top right of your screen, go down to do the search thing, then look up Device Manager. Alright, we're going to need drivers because in Windows XP it does not support plug and play, so by default your network adapters and your display adapters just won't work, so you're going to get crappy display, you won't have internet, and just some really bad stuff. So you're gonna want your display adapters, your network adapter, and your sound drivers. So you can use your disks if you have them, if you have your install disks for your drivers, and if you use like a Dell computer, it's gonna be like already on your computer kind of disk. But if you don't have the driver disks for one of them or something, just go on the internet. Sorry, I have to use Internet Explorer yeah, just search them on the internet for Windows XP. So if I needed a video card driver for an ATI Radeon 4770 Windows XP driver, I would just look that up and download it. And don't get those special driver install programs, because you don't want to do those. And they're going to come in executable or an INF or something, so just drag them in, put them in a folder on your desktop. I just made one called drivers. Alright, now our drivers are covered, so make sure, and if it's impossible to get sound or display, just try to get your network as first priority over everything. Try to get your network adapter first. Alright, now we gotta move on to our Windows XP disk. Now, depending on which bit disk you need to get, that's based off your system processor. So there's two processor types, 32-bit and 64-bit. Kinda newer computers are gonna have probably 64-bit, but smaller or older kind of computers probably have 32-bit. But I'm gonna show you how to check. So go to Control Panel by searching Control Panel on the thing. Now go to Hardware and Sound, Devices and Printers, right-click your computer device, and then do System Properties. Now you're going to see your processor and your system type or your processor type. And I have a 64-bit operating system. And so if you have a 32-bit operating system and 64-bit base processor, that means you didn't get the right version of Windows 8. Which is pretty bad, but it doesn't really matter that much. It would just be better for you to get a 64-bit version. So you're gonna need to get in my case, I have 64-bit, so I'm gonna need a 64-bit Windows XP disk. But depending on what you have, you're gonna get 32-bit or 64-bit. And yeah, there you go. And sometimes 32-bit XP disks will work on 64-bit computers, and they won't give you any warning or anything. So that's just a precaution. You might accidentally install 32-bit on a 64-bit machine. But if you try to install 64-bit disk on a 32-bit machine, it won't work, and it's gonna give you an error message. Alright, the next thing you need is just a basic Windows Vista 7 or 8 install disk. Now you're going to need this because we have to repair our master boot record and all that stuff so we can reboot into Windows 8. Alright, our next step is you're going to need to install EasyBCD. I'm going to link you to the website. It's going to be this website, and all you have to do is go scroll to the bottom and click download. Then you'll download this executable. So you're just gonna run through the install, and that should be done pretty quick. Alright, now we're gonna use that later on, so just keep that on your desktop, and now we can start with getting XP ready. Alright, now we have to make a new partition for Windows XP so we can dual boot them, so we get a boot selection at the startup. So what you're going to do is you're going to search for the word partition, and then click settings and create and format hard disk partitions. Alright, now look in our old one. I already showed you how to do this, but if you don't know how to do this, just stick around. I'll show you how. Alright, what you're going to need to do is you're probably gonna have two partitions: system reserved and C. Now you're gonna want to shrink C now instead of system reserved, because that's something Windows 8 makes, and I don't know, I think like system reserve things are in there. Alright, so now we go right click our C partition, or your main partition, which is probably gonna be C. Now right click and shrink volume. Sometimes this takes a little bit, but it shouldn't for me, but if it does, just exit out. Alright, now what we want to do is we want to, how much space we want to shrink out of this. So I'm only going to do 5 gigs. So gigs work in megabytes as like 1000. It's actually 1024, but just 1000 is a pretty rough estimate, but it works just fine. So 5 gigs would be 5,000, 50 gigs would be 50,000. So if you want like 20 gigs, 20,000, there you go. So I'm going to shrink this. And make sure you have enough free space. So I'm going to free up 5 gigs. And so I should have 5 gigs free. I'm actually going to make that, let's see, what should I make that? I'm going to make that 8 gigs, actually. Alright, and then click shrink. And there you go. Now you have this blank partition. It's unallocated space, so there's nothing in it. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to make this into our XP partition by right clicking and clicking new simple volume. Alright, just click next, and then just click next, and you can change the drive letter if you want. I'm going to keep it as E. Then yeah, you shouldn't mess with the file system and allocation unit size, because Windows XP works with NTFS and the default. So we're gonna call this partition Windows XP. Just name it, quick format. Alright, now we're ready to change your BIOS settings and install Windows XP. Alright, before we actually install Windows XP, we need to change our BIOS settings in our BIOS. And this, if you most likely will encounter a problem where when you put in the disk and boot it, it will say no hard disks found. And I just ran into that problem, but you change it by changing your ACHI mode in your SATA drive to IDE. Default is it's probably going to be called SATA mode, I think. And under there'll be ACHI and IDE, and you want to change it to IDE. And once you do that, you should be able to boot the Windows XP disk, and then you should load in just fine. But if you don't want to do that and you can boot in just fine, you can just boot it. Alright, so now let's get started. Let's boot our Windows XP. Alright, and make sure you change your boot order settings in your BIOS also. I forgot to mention that. Just to make sure so it will detect the device on boot up, and just look up how to change your boot device order if you need help to do that. And there's also just a boot menu that you can press like F12 to get into it, and that's actually what I am in right now. So let's boot from our CD. Make sure you set your CD for first boot. And press any key to boot. Then just sit here and let it load. And the reason you have to change it to IDE is because Windows XP doesn't support ACHI SATA mode, so you have to make it IDE, because only older operating systems use IDE a lot. So once you come up here, you have your partitions, and here's our partition we formatted earlier. It's called Windows XP. So let's see, just create a partition. Alright, so we want to set up Windows XP on our selected one, which is our Windows XP partition we made, and you can see it's 8,000 megabytes, which is about 8 gigs. Alright, so we're going to press enter on that one. Alright, we're going to format using the NTFS file system quick. And format the drive, press F. Alright, now setup is, the Windows XP setup is now formatting the drive. Alright, now it's going to reboot, but I want to skip that, so I'm just going to press enter. Alright, now we're going to boot from disk again. Alright, so after we boot from disk, it's probably going to load again, and we're going to come back up to here. Alright, now it's reformatted our Windows XP partition. Now you're going to see NTFS and NTFS. Our large one, as you can see, it's 17,000 megs. That's going to be our main drive with Windows 8 on it, and we don't want to install XP on that one, and we want to install the smaller partition we made earlier, which is the Windows XP partition. This one up here is just the system reserved. We don't mess with that, and it's also the E. So if you can't remember the size or anything, make sure just try to remember the drive letter you named it. So I'm gonna press enter on that to set up Windows XP on it, and press enter on the leave that is current, just how it is. Alright, now setup is gonna install Windows XP on our computer. So I'm gonna skip this. Alright, when it's done copying files, it's gonna say, please wait while setup initializes your Windows XP configuration. It's gonna load these information files. Alright, now when it's done loading the information files, it's gonna restart computer. Alright, now just leave it, don't let it boot from the CD. And now we're booting into Windows XP. Alright, as you can see, we're booting into the Windows XP setup. So this is the Windows XP install that you'll be seeing this. It's going to take a while, so I'm just going to skip through the main installation, and I'm going to skip to when I start to reboot when the installation's over. So it's going to ask you for your network, it's going to ask you for your username, your organization, your serial key, serial number, and all that stuff. So, yeah, I'll be back when it's done. Alright, here we rebooted into Windows XP after it's finished installing, and that's going to say this. It's going to adjust our resolution. Click OK. Now it's booting. Oh. Alright, now it does its intro thing with its song if you have your sound drivers up, which you most likely won't actually. Alright, just click next. Say not right now, or if you want you could turn it on to updates. Alright, user script Bailey. Alright, there we go. Alright, now we have successfully installed Windows XP on Alright, so now the next thing to do is we have to install our drivers. So go to computer in the start menu to browse for your drives. Come on. Now we're gonna go back to our local disk. The driver is gonna be weird. So that's system reserved, and E is our XP one. So that means this has got to be our Windows 8 drive. So we're gonna go in there. We're gonna go users, your user, and then desktop, or wherever you put your drivers. Then just go to your drivers. But I got special drivers, so I'm gonna install them. Alright. So you just install your drivers real quick. Alright, then reboot when they're done. Alright, now we reboot after we install the drivers. Now as you can see, my drivers obviously worked, especially the video ones. And now my screen is much bigger. It's all extended. Alright. Well, now you successfully have... Just make sure this works real quick. Now we have a Windows XP installed, and it's fully working. Well, to my extent, at least. You can just cancel this if you have a special, not special, crap. If you have a Wi-Fi card, just cancel that. Then reopen. Then you should alright, well, I gotta configure my network connection because it's not working right now. But once you get that all up and running, just reboot into, not reboot, take out your Windows XP drive, then put in your Windows 8, Windows 7, or Windows Vista install drive. So let's reboot while we have our repair disk in, our installation disk for 7, Vista, or 8. No, we're not gonna install any of these. We just need to use the disk repair feature real quick. Alright, so we're gonna boot from it. Alright, so once you press next on the language, just go repair your computer. It should be in the bottom left. Alright, now go. If you have a Windows 7 or Vista, it should say startup repair and CMD, and just try to get to the command line, and just try to bypass anything it does. So advanced. Now advanced options, we're gonna run command prompt. Alright, now in the command prompt, we're going to type bootrec/fix boot. Alright, now we're going to do bootrec/fix mbr, then bootrec rebuild bcd. Alright, now this is going to rebuild our bcd. Alright, now it's going to say there's no installations, but that's fine. So we're going to close out of that. Then we're going to turn off your PC. and then just go back in. Just reboot. So turn it back on. Take out your Windows 8 or Vista 7 disk. Now you should be booting back into Windows 8. Alright, now we're back into Windows 8, and what we have to do now is we have to use EasyBCD now. Just open up EasyBCD. Click yes. Alright, we have to, since EasyBCD is like really dumb at saving, what we have to do is we have to exit the program like very like formally, I guess you would say, but I'll show you just what I mean. So what we have to do first is go to BCD deployment and go install the Windows Vista /7 bootloader to the MBR. Click right MBR. Now go File, Exit, then go to the Start menu, click your user, lock, slide up the thing, press the power button, restart. Restart anyway. Yeah, it's really stupid, but that's the only way it will save its configuration for some reason on Windows 8. I don't know, but it took me a while to figure it out, and I've had to restart like 80 times. Alright, now we're back in. Let's relog in. Gotta cover on my email there. Alright, now reopen EasyBCD. Alright, now we have the Vista N7 bootloader on the MBR. So now what we have to do is we have to go add new menu entry, select Windows NT 2K XP or 2003, go Windows XP or whatever you want. Then add entry. Then go edit boot menu, and this is just kind of a aesthetic thing you can do. So I'm gonna set XP as my default. You don't have to. What I really would recommend though is to set the countdown from 30. For some reason it won't show up, but set the countdown from 30. It might be skip the boot menu, but it might be on countdown 10, which I think it's on countdown 10, but you should probably set it to countdown 30. So we have everything set. Save. Alright, File, Exit, Start menu, User, Lock, Up, or you could just do Windows key lock, then power button, restart. Alright, now here's our selection. So here's Windows 8 and XP. Alright, QCat, there's your tutorial. This is how to dual boot Windows XP and Windows 8 with Windows 8 installed first. And there you go. If you have any questions or need help with anything, just post in the comments or send me a PM, and I'll respond to you as soon as possible. And I try to respond to as much people as I can, so yeah. Actually, I did have a problem with Windows XP after getting the boot menu working, and I had to reinstall my drivers in safe mode, but that wasn't too hard. So there you go. If you ever have a problem with black screening when you click Windows XP, reinstall your drivers in safe mode, especially your graphics card drivers. But you probably won't have that problem, so don't worry about it. So you should be able to go between Windows 8 and Windows XP. So there you go. And here's the login of Windows XP, just for reassurance. Alright, so this is XP, and it's there. And so, just like, comment, subscribe, and I might be making some new Minecraft modding videos and stuff. So yeah, just check those out.